الحمد لله وحده والصلاة والسلام على من لا نبي بعده ولا أمة بعد أمته ولا كتاب بعد كتابه ولا شريعة بعد شريعته. أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وما أمروا إلا ليعبدوا الله مخلصين له الدين. وقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم: إنما الأعمال بالنيات، أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام. صدق الله العظيم. Respected elders and brothers, I have recited a verse of the Holy Quran and a saying of our beloved Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And in this verse and in the saying of our beloved Prophet, the emphasis is upon intention for our deeds and forming and being sincere in the good deeds that you and I do. Let us first look at the saying of our beloved Nabi Kareem sallallahu alayhi wasallam when he said, "Innamal a'malu bin niyat." Verily, the reward of every deed goes a long way by being dependent upon the intention that you have made for the deed. Our ulama and our great scholars in the past have placed this saying of our beloved Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the beginning of many of their books, in the beginning of their compilations. And you find great scholars, when they began any book, they used to place the saying of our beloved Prophet, this hadith, in the beginning of those compilations to correct the intentions, to see that the intentions in doing any good deed is for a noble purpose. Our scholars tell us that from this hadith we learn, amongst many other things. In today's talk, in this brief time we have, I would like to concentrate on three important lessons. First is the importance of intention. Today, brothers, you and I, we do many things. We don't know the purpose of why we are doing it. You go and open up your shop, it's just a matter of routine. You're going to open up your shop, you're going for a job, you're going for an employment. It's a matter of routine. We have become stuck into our mundane activities without having any higher purpose in life. And surely you can do something and you can have a noble purpose, or you can just have a normal purpose. So it is said about a person who was baking bricks. And when he was baking bricks, someone came past and said, "What are you doing?" He said, "That's what I'm doing. I'm just baking bricks." And another person, he went to a same person who was doing the same thing, and he said, "I'm putting up these bricks which will one day adorn the walls of a mosque." Now look at the difference in the two, the way they did it. One was, "I just making a pure little small brick I'm making." And one said, "I'm making a brick that which will one day adorn the walls of a mosque, or which will adorn the walls of something that is great in terms of its building." So we must form intention and have intentions and purpose why we are doing things. Our ulama tell us that there are 3 degrees and 3 types of amal and deeds. And I will go on to explain the different intentions that we can make for these different types and categories of deeds. One is good deeds. And I will go on to explain as we go along in the talk. Good deeds, we do it solely for the sake of Allah. Then there are evil deeds, deeds that are wrong. Now, fortunately or unfortunately, the fact of the matter is you can't do an evil deed with a noble intention. No Robin Hood story here. You can't go and steal from the poor to go and give the rich and say that, "No, my intention is good." You can't go and do that. People would like to bring different types of intentions with regard to deeds, evil deeds. Evil deed is an evil deed no matter how noble the intention is. Right? So you can have an evil deed will remain an evil deed. So sometimes, since a noble intention will not change the nature of an evil deed, it will remain like that. See, so in this particular aspect, in terms of an evil deed, intention doesn't play any role. And sometimes a person might have noble intentions, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it is good. Someone saw a bird with a big beak, and a very long, and he cut off the beak. And he said, "Why are you cutting?" He said, "Look at that beak. How is that bird going to be able to eat food?" but the very nature of the provisions of that bird dependent upon that beak for it to reach crevices where Allah had kept its sustenance. So when it cut the beak, after a while that bird died. His intention was good, but what happened with the deed? So evil deeds do not become right with noble intentions. In Islam, just as the deed is supposed to be correct, the intention and the objective is also supposed to be correct. The means and the deed are supposed to be correct. Then where intention plays a very important role is in mundane activities of life. So a person goes and he's going to open up a business. He can do so because I want to compete with the Jonases of the world. I would like to have the luxuries of this world. I want to become prosperous. To an extent that is not haram, it is not prohibited. But he can also go and do so because Allah had said to acquire halal provisions is a religious duty. For me to look after my wife and children is a religious duty. So I'm doing it because Allah has commanded me to do so. So in that particular way, his mundane activities become an ibadat. I am eating, one is because I eat to live, or I live to eat, whatever. But one is because I'm eating, I want to gain strength to be able to worship and remember my Allah. Now that particular eating becomes a worship. It becomes an ibadat. Look at how through the means of intention, pure dust can be turned into gold. Just with proper intention. That is why my Ustad, Hazrat Maulana Idris Mirti, my teacher, and what a beautiful saying, one Urdu saying, he said, Nek niyati ek mustaqil ibadat hai. He said, forming noble intentions is an independent good deed in itself. Forming noble intention is a good deed in itself. There are many examples from the sayings of our beloved Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Once Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was going in an expedition, and when Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam went into this expedition, he said that there are people who have been left behind in this noble expedition. Ma salakna shu'ba wala wadiyan illa wa hum ma'ana. We do not cross a stream, or we don't cross a mountain top, we don't cross a valley, but they are together with us in reward. The intention was to come. For some reason they could not come. But because of the intention, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give them a reward for every good deed that we do because of the intention. It is said about Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal rahmatullah alayhi, he had a neighbor who was very fond of Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal. After he passed away, someone saw him in a dream and said, how did Allah treat you? He said, Allah forgave my sins. He said, on what basis? He said, Allah gave me an elevated status. He said, for two reasons. One is he was a person who used to do, ironsmith. So he used to warm the iron and carve and mold it according to whatever it was. So he said, one is respect for adhan. He said he used to be busy with his work. Sometimes he had a pick or an axe and he was about to strike the iron. And when azan, the call for prayer used to be given, he shouldn't even complete that one strike. He used to say, Allah has called me for prayers. He used to leave it beside one side. He said, for that respect for the azan, Allah forgave me. And he said, the second thing is, I used to look at Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal and his noble life. And I used to say, I'm a person who is an ordinary worker. I'm an employee. I'm a worker. I don't have the time to be able to do the noble deeds Imam Ahmad is doing. But he said, it's my heartfelt desire, my intention, that I would like to become like Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal. I would like to become like that man. And because of that niyyat, Allah Ta'ala granted him a reward. So brothers, the first thing, in terms of innamal a'malu bin niyyat, the lesson that we learn, let us form good intentions for what we are doing. The second thing is, when we have to form intentions, what is our intention? Our intention is to please Allah, especially our good deeds. We do it not for any name and fame. We do it for the sake of Allah. You see, human beings are by nature people who like rewards. And our community, not everyone is from the same community, but by and large they say, when you see an Indian man running, you must know it is a sale or something is for free. That is what you see an Indian man running, you know there's a sale somewhere or something is for free. Now Allah Ta'ala tells us to be true to our nature. Allah says, seek rewards for the good that you do. But who do you seek it from? Seek it from human being. Human being is one of the most disloyal in terms of appreciating good deeds. The reality is, sometimes you will do 99 good deeds or 99 good things. One thing you will do wrong. So someone sent me this message recently in the week. Human being is such, you do 99 wrong. You do 99 right, you do one wrong. He will leave that right and he will focus on the wrong that you have done. And Allah is such, you do 99 wrong and you do one right. Inna Allah la yudhi'u ajra al-muhsinin. Sometimes Allah will focus on that right that you have done and forgive the 99 wrongs that you have done. But this is the reality. So who are you going to seek your good deeds and reward for your deeds from? Ya qawmi la as'alukum alayhi ajra in ajriya illa ala Allah. Every Nabi that came told his people, every prophet that came, every messenger of Allah came, oh my tribe, I don't want any reward from you. My reward is with Allah. My reward is with Allah. Allah in Surah Al-Dahr, such a beautiful ayat. وَيُطْعِمُونَ الطَّعَامَ عَلَى حُبِّهِ مِسْكِينًا وَيَتِيمًا وَعَسِيرًا إِنَّمَا نُطْعِمُكُمْ لِوَجْهِ اللَّهِ. When you feed the poor for the sake of Allah. لَا نُرِيدُ مِنْكُمْ جَزَاءً وَلَا شُكُورًا. When you feed the poor, you don't need even a thanks from them. You don't even need a gratefulness from them. You don't need a reward. Your reward is Allah, not for the people whom you have given charity to. I made mention as an Aisha, whenever she used to give someone charity, she used to tell the person taking the charity, see what prayer they make for me. Tell me what prayer they made for me. When you give someone something, say, may Allah bless you. May Allah give you more provisions. May Allah give you more risk. So you say, write down that prayer, so that I can repeat the prayer on behalf of the recipient of my charity. And my charity is then solely for Allah, not even for the prayer that they have made for me. We don't even when we give to people of other faiths, we don't even do it with the intention that they must come on Islam. We do it solely for the sake of Allah. Allah, if He wants, because of that, can give them hidayat. Allah Ta'ala can guide them on Islam. But we don't do it for that reason. 2 days ago, I made mention of this incident. Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam, one day he gave meals to an atheist. And before he gave him meals, he said, read Bismillah, take the name of Allah. He said, I don't believe in Allah, I worship the fire. So Ibrahim alayhi salam became angry and said, you worship the fire, leaving Allah. Leave my dastarkhan, leave my tablecloth. And when he went away, Allah sent Jibreel with a wahi and said, O Ibrahim, I fed him for 70 years despite the fact that he didn't believe in me. You couldn't give him one meal. Despite the fact that he didn't believe in me, I still provided for him. We don't even give our charity for any other reason but for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is an aspect, and in this there is great amount of benefits, my brothers. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam told us that Muaz, O Muaz, akhlis dinak. O Muaz, do things solely for Allah. Then a little bit will be sufficient for your salvation. You do a little bit of good deeds. Now, for example, take a whole ton of stones and try and go and sell it in the open market, you will get nothing for it. Take one small ruby which is part of a stone and go and try and sell it and see how much you get. This is the reality with regard to deeds done with sincerity. It is like rubies. And deeds done without sincerity, it is like a ton of just normal type of stones where you will not get much with regard to it. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam told Hazrat Muaz, O Muaz, do your deeds solely for Allah, even little will be sufficient for you. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's hadith, Tuba lil mukhlisin. Congratulations be for those who did things for the sake of Allah. They are lanterns of guidance. It is said that there is no limit a person can do. There is no limit a person can do in terms of good deeds when he doesn't worry who gets the credit. He doesn't worry who gets the credit. Brothers, this hadith is such an amazing hadith. Sometimes you think about it and you look at the dua that Hazrat Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam made, He said when he and his son were alone putting up the Kaaba and Baytullah. No one was with them. No one saw them. No one said that how much donation anyone gave for the masjid. They put up the masjid alone and he said, Rabbana taqabbal minna wa Allah, accept from us. What sincerity that today thousands and millions people flock to that home in Makkah Mukarramah because of the sincerity of two people. Do you want to know what the effect of sincerity is? Two people put up the Baytullah. Until today they are queues and crowds. We fight with one another for visa. We will do anything to go and get a visa. Why? We want to go to the Kaaba and Baytullah. Why? Done by who? Two people's ikhlas. Two people's sincerity. وَإِذْ يَرْفَوْ إِبْرَاهِيمُ الْقَوَائِدَ مِنَ الْبَيْتِ وَإِسْمَعِيلُ. This is the effect of sincerity. But it is very difficult. To get sincerity is no easy thing. You see, to do things solely for Allah Ta'ala's sake. Because we like to get name, fame, praise. We do it. And the problem sometimes is you start off a good deed with noble intention. Then afterwards certain things come. I hope someone must praise me. Someone must see me doing this good deeds. And those things are so intangible. All of a sudden it comes. So it's so very important for us. That is why it is said, I read this ayat in the khutbah, وَمَا أُمِرُوا إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ مُخْلِصِينَ لَهُ الدِّينَ. We have been commanded to worship only Allah. Do things solely for the sake of Allah. He said when this verse was revealed, Ibn Arabi rahmatullah alayhi says, the entire heavens and earth stood still by the implications of this ayat. It stood still. Two deeds solely for the sake of Allah. The hadith of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, النَّاسُ كُلُّهُمْ هَالِكُونَ إِلَّا الْعَالِمُونَ. That entire humanity is destroyed except the one who has knowledge. وَالْعَالِمُونَ هَالِكُونَ إِلَّا الْعَامِلُونَ. And the learned and the knowledgeable person is also destroyed unless he follows his knowledge with action. وَالْعَامِلُونَ كُلُّهُمْ هَالِكُونَ إِلَّا الْمُخْلِصُونَ. And the person who does action is also destroyed except the one who is sincere in his actions. وَالْمُخْلِصُونَ فِي خَطَرٍ عَظِيمٍ. And the person who is sincere is on a very great trial. The person who is sincere is on a very great trial. Does he do it for the sake of Allah? Does he do it for something else? Shah Ismail Shaheed Rahmatullah Ali, I like to give us just one example, that one day he gave a talk to thousands of people in the Jami Masjid in Delhi. And after he went away, there was a poor person who came running after the talk. And he came there, he came running to me. He said, is the lecture finished? He said, yes. He said, I traveled so long to come listen to your one sermon. Because you give such beautiful sermons, you remind people about Allah. So he said, all right, never mind, come, let me repeat the sermon. And he repeated the whole sermon that he gave in front of 1,000 people for one person. His disciples and his students said, why did you do so? You are tired. You are such a hectic person. He said, the first time when I gave in front of 1,000 people, I also gave it for Allah. So I gave it in front of 1,000 people, or I read it in front of one person, I still give it. Faqih Abul Layth Samarkandi is one of our great scholars. He gives an example of sincerity. Someone asked him, what is the reality of sincerity? He said, a shepherd, when he reads his salat in front of the sheep, when a shepherd reads namaz in front of the sheep, does it ever cross his mind that the sheep are watching how I'm reading salat? Does it ever cross his mind that the sheep are seeing me, how nice I read namaz? He said that is sincerity, that the way the shepherd reads his salat without worrying whether the sheep are watching his salat or not. You read your namaz in front of people, not worried whether they're watching or you're not. You are doing it for Allah's sake. And the third lesson that we learn from here is, don't corrupt your intention for the sake of name and fame. Brothers, this is one of the great sins, that you do good deeds for the sake of name and fame. May Allah Ta'ala protect us. Abu Sayyid al-Khudri radiallahu anhu said, نَحْنُ نَتَذَاكَرُ الْمَسِيحِ الدَّجَّالِ. We were talking about the Antichrist in front of the time of our beloved Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Dajjal will come, the Antichrist will come. And Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam passed and said, what are you speaking about? He said, we are speaking about the Antichrist. He said, shall I not tell you something that is even more worse and more dangerous for you? Maybe not worse, but more dangerous. Worse, we know that is the greatest trial. But more widespread and common. Ya Rasulullah, tell us. He said, shirk-e khafi. Concealed associating partners to Allah. Shirk-e khafi. Ya Rasulullah, what is that? He said, you do your deeds not for Allah's sake, but for the sake of people's sake. That is shirk-e khafi. Allah won't reward a person, brothers, who does not do deeds for the sake of Allah. I gave this example with which I will conclude. And that is Maulana Umar Palampuri used to give this beautiful example. A builder builds a house, say for a person by the name of Musa. So after building the house for Musa, the builder, after he completes the house, goes to Isa. Isa, give me money. Why? I put up the house for Musa. What will Isa tell him? Isa will tell him, by you, who did you build the house for? He said, I built a house for Musa. He said, you build a house for Musa, go and ask Musa for money. Why are you asking me, Isa, for money? So in a similar manner, on the day of Qiyamah, Allah will ask you, who did you do your good deeds for? If you did for the sake of people, go and ask them for reward. Why must I reward you? You didn't do it for me. May Allah Ta'ala forbid, brothers. Can you see the implication? Logically, it makes so much sense. When you did it for people, Allah will be entitled to tell you on the day of Qiyamah, you didn't do it for me. Go and ask the people for whom you had done it. Tell them to go and reward you. What you want me to reward you? So these three lessons we learn from this one beautiful saying of our beloved Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Really, may Allah Ta'ala grant us ikhlas in everything that we do. Allah Ta'ala make us do noble intentions, correct intention for our deeds, sincerity for the sake of Allah, and keep us away that we start doing things for the sake of name and fame, corrupting our rewards the way the Quran and Hadith has told us. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين.